Beep, 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 beep. Hey, my name is Tigran. You've probably seen some of my funny videos on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and you're probably wondering, who am I? What's my story? Well, today I'm going to tell you all the way from the beginning so you can see where I was born, how I came to America, and how I started my landscaping business, which is what it is today, Applewood Landscaping. A very successful company in California where we install very high-end, super custom landscapes all around the Bay Area, and people pay us millions and millions of dollars to do so. But before that, let's start from the roots, where I was born, or even better, where I was conceived. That I don't know. So I was born on May 20, 1990. I'm a Taurus, last day of Taurus, first day of Gemini. I don't know what that means, but I was born in a little stain on the map called Armenia. And it's a very, very small place that pretty much is pushed in from all sides of the Middle East. We have Iran, Iraq, Turkey, Georgia all surrounding us, and we're like literally trapped like an animal in a cage. No freedom, no place to really shine, very limited opportunity, and you can drive across the entire country in 3 hours. I think Delaware or Massachusetts, one of those states, is as large as Armenia, which is not the biggest, but we are all over the world. A lot of the population is from LA, but I reside currently right now in San Jose, right by the San Francisco area, about an hour south, which is great. Now, you're probably wondering, how'd you get to America? I was born in Armenia and I lived there for 9 years. My parents split up when I was 2 years old. It was the Soviet Union, very hard times. Soviet Union crashed and there was no electricity, no water. I believe my parents were getting into arguments and they split up, probably due to financial reasons and just a bad environment to live in. So they split up, which back then, little me was probably really sad. Oh, Daddy, no. But I didn't know that in the future, that would be the best thing that could ever happen to me and my biological family. So my parents split up. My daddy left. He went to do his own thing. And my mom raised me from 2 years old with my grandma and her sister until I was 8. And this is when my mom got a very good opportunity to go to America to visit our great-great aunt. Her name is Barbara. And Barbara was a complete gangster. She was a Holocaust survivor, and she was not inside the prison of where all the Jewish people were, where they were like dying, but she was a Russian girl that was captured by the Germans. And for 10, 12 hours a day, all she was doing was peeling potatoes for the army. You guys got to think, a lot of times people are like, oh, prisoner of war, but like, all these soldiers got to eat. Someone's got to do the peeling potatoes. Someone's got to cut up all the meat. Someone's got to slaughter the chickens. And that was her job. Her job, along with a bunch of other girls, peeling potatoes, cooking food, making soups, doing all this stuff. And that was her entire life for years. She was a prisoner, but she had freedom, kind of. And the cool thing about Barbara was she was very pretty. She was a very attractive young lady. And she met this German officer by the name of George. They fell in love and they did the little deed, a little dirty. She became pregnant. And then now there's a kid on the way. And that kid was not going to be born in Nazi Germany. So what they did is they fled Germany and they sold a bunch of their gold. They sold a bunch of their belongings and they got on a ship from, I believe, Spain, all the way to New York. And that boat ride took 20 days. And she even told us that a lot of people were on the boat. They were just dying of diseases and people would just throw them overboard because you don't want to have a diseased person on the boat with thousands of other people, which is crazy. They arrived in Ellis Island many weeks later. And this is where she got her start. She went to Manhattan. They were working there. After that, they decided to leave New York and go to a small suburb in Chicago called Waukegan, Illinois. And this is where she stayed her entire life. After her husband died and her son unfortunately died prematurely, she was all alone and she reached out to her extended family, being my mother. My mom got an opportunity to come here and visit her. She came, left me all by myself in Armenia with my grandma. If you ask me, T, what was it like for your mama leaving? I don't know. I don't remember. My grandma was fantastic. She had no rules. She cooked me whatever I wanted. Life was fantastic. I was actually so glad my mom left. I was like, bro, I'm living the life. I don't have to shower. I don't have to brush my teeth. I do whatever I want. I can play outside for hours, not come home. Feet are dirty. I'm literally hanging out in my underwear. My grandma has pictures of me just running down the street in my whitey tighties. It's crazy. Life was good. Freedom. Finally, no rules. So my mom left in 1998. She came here to Illinois. She was feeling out the vibe, and obviously a very good goal would be to get married so you can have a citizenship in Illinois. And that's where she met my dad, Gary. When I say my dad, he's my stepdad, but I really call him my dad because he's fantastic and he raised me very, very close to my dad. But I came here and he treated me like a son. I actually had a male father figure to look up to. and to model after. And he was the one that taught me about mowing lawns, weed whacking, working hard, getting things done. Do it nice or you do it twice, Tigran. And the countless lectures that he put me through, drilling his work ethic into me. And he was a very blue collar guy. He's probably making 65, 70 grand a year. And he supported himself, his wife, new wife, and his new son throughout that whole salary, which is, to me, unbelievable. Because I have people that work for me doing little camera stuff making 70 grand a year. And my dad at the time was making 70 grand and supporting a whole family, which is crazy to even think about. When I came here on November 20, 1999, it was right before Thanksgiving. I flew into O'Hare. I went from Armenia to Moscow and I went to Chicago. My mom picked me up. I haven't seen her in a year and a half. And now I get to meet my new dad. He gave me a little paper bag of goodies, and inside was a banana, a Coca-Cola, and a Snickers bar. My 3 favorite things in the entire world. Sugar, sugar, sugar. As a kid, it's all you want. And by the way, in Armenia, which is a very small country and there's not a lot of resources, it was very difficult to get a Snickers, it was very difficult to get a Coca-Cola, and it was almost impossible to get a banana. But those are my favorite things. And you come to America and all these things are readily available. Snickers everywhere, bananas everywhere, Coca-Cola everywhere. And I was like, oh my God, a dream come true. So I ate that and then they took me to McDonald's. I ate that and then I went, took a shower and went straight to bed. Waking up the next morning, I wish I would have freaking vlogged it and I would have remembered what it was like. But woke up and now, after the winter break, when I got settled in, everything was fine. We went to sign up for school. And right now, my dad lived in Kenosha, Wisconsin. If you don't know, the 70s show was based in Point Place, Wisconsin, which is very close to Kenosha. They used to go to Kenosha to party and let loose and go disco. So I went and signed up for school. They gave me all the stuff. It was 4th grade. And I got in. I remember my first day of class. I wasn't really scared. I was not ready for anything. And I go in and you know, I'm like the new shiny object and all these, there was a bunch of Mexican kids. It was a pretty much 80 to 90% Mexican school. And I remember there was a lot of Jesuses, a lot of Jose's, a lot of Juans, and I was the white kid and there was a couple black kids. And the black kids were like the all-time fast runners and track stars. These kids were so fast, they were running up trees and doing backflips. And they were very popular in school. Now I came into this whole thing and people are like excited. I'm like, who's this guy? Who's this guy? And I was like, I can't even speak English. I don't know what to say. And they were all doing jokes, making fun, yada, yada, yada. But I had no idea what was going on. So I was kind of sheltered in that regard. And I didn't know if they were being mean or not. They probably were. I was a little kid. Eventually, I started becoming friends with some of the kids. And there was this guy named Mike Zielinski. I remember him. He was like one of the biggest kids. And he was like, hey, by the way, if you ever want to say hi to people in America, it's very easy. You can either say hi, hello, or some very nice hand signs. And I was like, what's a hand sign? And he's like, well, all you have to do is do this. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, go to do it to the teacher. So I did. I said, hello. Afterwards, I got a detention and I got in trouble. And she was like, why did you do that? And I was like, oh, Mike told me it was okay. As soon as she found out, I'm the foreign kid, obviously. I don't really know the culture. She gave him a detention for a whole week and then she let me go. But I didn't really know I was ratting either. Had no idea. You don't know, we don't know. But either way, it was a very interesting experience starting the entire school period out. I would say that it was a good learning lesson because I got to experience different cultures. Also at the same time, I learned English very quickly. If you notice, I have no accent. Maybe if you live in Georgia, you'd be like, you sound like an American white boy. Perfect. It's exactly what I want to sound like because I came here at a young age and I developed speaking without an accent, which is great. So after a couple of years going through middle school and figuring everything out, becoming friends with people, got into a couple fights, but then my parents decided to leave Kenosha, Wisconsin, and they moved to Round Lake, Illinois. This is where I went to high school. And this is where I met a lot of my friends that were there. Travis, AJ, Ryan, Andrew, Kyle, all these kids I went to high school with. So I went from an all Mexican school. Now I'm in a pretty much all white school. It was all white kids. And this is where I started to hang out more with people because I got more comfortable and people weren't like, oh, you're a weird foreign kid. They knew I had a weird name, but I spoke really good English, so I was fine. And this is where I started getting into trouble. I became a little troublemaker, especially for my mom. My mom lost sleep and I was a pain in the butt. I started smoking weed. I started going out, sneaking out late, sneaking in girls into my room. All this stuff that you don't want your teenage son to do, I was doing. And I was a very sneaky little weasel.
Give him to me.
And now looking back at it, I mean, yeah, I had to go through it. You know, who knows what would have happened if I was a goody two-shoes. But I know one thing for sure. All the people that were goody two-shoes in high school, they got nowhere in life. All the people I copied off of in high school for their homework, where they at? We don't know. But I know after still being friends with him on Facebook, not really doing anything. Got a normal job, doing this, we're delivering pizzas. It's crazy. High school is actually opposite. The very troublesome kids either go to jail or become successful, and the goody two-shoes kids either do nothing with their life or they have a very safe job. One of the reasons why I think I was a troublemaker in high school was because I didn't like authority. First of all, why was I in high school learning algebra, calculus, history? Most of the history that we learned in school was a straight up lie. And why was I learning like biology and science? I don't care about any of that. And 99% of the things you learned in high school and grade school, besides English and speaking and writing, all that is very important. Math is super important. I really like Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. I decided that I was not very good at because I didn't pay attention, and I dropped out of Algebra 2. And I went into a very basic Algebra 101 class. That's where I got all my credits. But basic math makes sense. Geometry makes sense. But why was I learning about biology? Why was I learning about calculus? It really didn't make any sense to me because I'm like, dude, I want to figure out how to become successful. I want to figure out how to make money. I want to figure out how I can buy this new bike. That's what school didn't teach me. So I said, you know what? These teachers suck anyway. I'm just not going to pay attention. Now I'm going to go over some high school footage of when I went back to visit. This was in February. And the school I went to was called Grant Community High School. And we rolled up at like 4 o'clock. There was no warning to the school I was coming. I just literally just walked through the front doors. Everything was open. I was actually surprised. No one even stopped me. No one cared I was there. I was walking into classrooms and everything. So we're going to look at the footage and check it out. 1, 2, 3, and action. So this is me out here in the front of the school. This is the main walkway. The principal's office is to the right. And this part of the school was actually here when I was going. And they added on a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm walking through memory lane. This was actually the hallway that I got pushed so hard. I was walking, I was a freshman, and there was these senior kids that I was kind of cool with, but kind of not cool with. I was friends with their little brother, and I used to go to their house sometimes, and they used to be there. And, you know, being a senior to juniors, you're just a punk ass. So I was walking through the hallway, and he said something, and I was like, ha ha ha. And I said something back, and they just came up. One of the guys pushed me so hard on my shoulders that my feet swept under me. And I just went like this, whoosh, and I fell straight down. Books went everywhere. And everyone's like, oh, oh. And I was like, whoa, bro, what happened? And the dude he was like a bully, but he knew that was a little too far. So he actually grabbed my arm. He helped me back up, and he's like, whoa, bro, you good? And I was like, what just happened? He helped me pick up my books, and I went on my way. But I was like, man, what a bastard. I'll never forget that. Very, very rude. But it's okay to get bullied. Don't be a pussy. This is all the grades from the 1960s all the way. This is 1967? Yeah, 1968, 1969. That's crazy. And this is the gymnasium. This is where we had our dances and our prom and our homecoming. This big gym. And also the basketball. I really liked basketball, but I was never good enough to play on the high school team. It's a very nice school. Looking back, I realized that I went to a good school that had a lot of money. Apparently. And I didn't know that at the time. But keep in mind, the school did not look like this when I was going there. They dumped millions and millions of dollars to refinish everything. Brand new walls, paint, cinder blocks.
11. So was it like by class? Freshman, sophomore, juniors?
Mr. Schmidt, he still teaches here? No way. I know him.
Knock on his door.
And then I saw this guy, Mr. Schmidt. He was my teacher back in the day.
Bastard.
Shout out Mr. Schmidt.
It's only 5 o'clock. What are people doing? Well, school's out like 3.
Try to go into the locker, see if I can remember my old code. Did not. And this is the classroom one too. I remember, man, dude, it just sitting down in a classroom is just so boring.
All right, class. Today I'm going to be teaching about school. Hey, you! Pay attention!
Oh, sorry.
Today we're going to be learning about parabolas. Do you know what a parabola is?
No.
Go to the office.
Oh, America, goddammit. Being an active learner and learning as you go, especially learning something from someone that is actually doing what you want to do, that's where having a teacher makes sense. If you're a video editor and you love videos, learn from a guy that's doing videos. I can't teach you anything about video editing, but these teachers, that's their job. But teachers also have a very hard life and a difficult job, but they chose to be there. Nugs, not drugs. That's all. So my relationship with my mother and father were actually really, really good. Besides when I used to act out and get in trouble. That was not such a good time for them. For me, I don't really care because I'm a selfish 17-year-old. But as far as having a good bond with my mom and dad, it was really, really good. Even though I used to get in trouble, I was always a hardworking kid. Like summertime comes around, yeah, I was smoking weed and doing all a bunch of bullshit, but I was also working a lot. I was mowing lawns, I was dethatching, I was aerating, and yeah, at nighttime we go out and we puff up. Even though I was a very troublesome kid, I still worked my buns off. My dad instilled hard work in me. My dad instilled wake up early, get it done, make sure that you do a good job. He was a perfectionist. So not all of it rubbed off on me, but some of it. And that is what taught me to work hard. And I was actually making more money than all my high school kids. All the high school kids I was hanging out with, I was like the rich one. I always had a little money on me. I was out here working. Summertime, hot as hell. I'm out here in the sun, mowing lawns, dethatching, aerating, getting it done, getting after it, making a couple $100 here and there. Boom, boom, boom. A couple $100 here and there as a high school kid really adds up when you do it over the course of a year. And I remember at the end, after fall was over, winter was coming in, I had this little box and I had like, at the time, maximum amount of money I had was like 11,000. And I was like, oh my God, I'm rich, bro. I can buy anything. Let's go. But wake up call happened when I became an adult. After I graduated high school, I went to college. It was something called Tech Campus. And we were learning how to be a mechanic pretty much. And then I decided that I don't really like working on engines. So after that full semester I finished, I went to collision repair, doing Bondo and painting. And I really liked that. I thought it was really fun because I was hanging out with my friends, and you're a product of your environment. So my friends liked collision repair. They went after it. My friend Ray, Tim, all these kids. And I was like, well, this is really fun. First, I got to hang out with all my friends. We were smoking weed at lunch. We were hanging out. We were smoking cigarettes. It was a good vibe. I took after collision repair and I did that for 2 years. And after the whole collision repair program ended, I was certified to become a mechanic at painting cars. It's time to get a job. What did I do? Not that. I decided I don't want to be a collision repair guy anymore because I don't like it. So I went back, every single summer, I went back into mowing lawns. And even though I was certified, I have my plaque that I can become a collision repair employee, I didn't, because mowing lawns was more fun to me. Every single summer I was doing lawns, and my mom always say, Tigran, learn how to do pavers, learn how to do pavers, learn how to do stonework. Mowing lawns is for stupid people. And I was like, Mom, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know how to do pavers. Where am I going to learn how to do that? Just find someone that knows how to do it. And I was like, ugh, you don't know anything about anything, lady. Leave me alone. Of course, I'm an opinionated young man. I'm in my early 20s. I know everything. But Mama's always right. She told me in the beginning, find someone that knows how to do it. And I was like, I don't know how to do that, Mom. It's not as easy as you say. That in itself was a learning lesson. But one of the biggest pivotal moments in my life was when my grandma died. The lady that was peeling potatoes and working hard for the Nazis. She died at 95, 96 years old, and she left me with a very small inheritance of $100,000. And she left my mom with, I think, 200 grand. And at the time, 100 grand as a 23-year-old, I had 11 grand in my little piggy bank. Now I have $100,000 in my bank account. Oh boy, am I loaded. Let's go. And I knew that staying in my hometown would not further my career or life in any way. So I decided I'm going to move the farthest point that I can. And I've always wanted to go to California. And people in my high school always, in the summertime, used to pack their truck. I'm moving to California. I'm not coming back. This place is whack. You're never going to see me again. F you, Mom. F you, Dad. I'm out. Literally 40 days later, I see him at the gas station. Whoa, Ryan, what are you doing here? Oh, bro, California was tough, man. Ran out of money. I'm like, well, what are you doing here? I got my job back. I'm working on my job again. Oh, man, that sucks. I knew right then and there. I'm like, bro, I'm going to California. I'm going to and smoke all these people out. Smoke them out. I ain't never coming back. When I leave, I'm never coming back. So, yes, the $100,000 was a very big help in actually getting me to move. So I moved, found this place in San Jose, and it was called Santana Row. I went there. It was very bougie. It was very opposite of what I was used to. I came from a small suburb of just redneck hillbillies, diesel trucks, dip, and bonfires. Like, that's it. Plain field. Nothing. If you live in Illinois, Indiana, somewhere in the Midwest, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Cornfields, bro. I came from the cornfields to a big town in California with 1 million people. And I was like, whoa, this place is amazing. So I moved here. My rent was $20,000. My mom made me prepay the entire rent. And within 7 months of living there, I spent all my grandma's hard-earned money. Now I have to figure life out. So what did I do? The only thing that I knew how to do, because my friend was a professional drug dealer, started selling weed. That's right. I became a mover of weed. And that went along for several months until I got robbed. And it wasn't like I got robbed at gunpoint. It's just I gave this kid weed. He was supposed to give me money back in about a week, and he just disappeared off the face of the earth. So I'm like, oh my God, I can never catch a break. I was a victim. Can't believe this happened to me. Why did this have to happen to me? This sucks. That kid is so bad. That kid is so shady. I'm just going to figure out how to do landscaping. And this is when I stumbled upon Grant, books, Jim Rohn, all these guys that were like the self-help, motivational, go get it, here's some knowledge, get after it. Everything was fantastic. And I finally understood exactly what I was supposed to do because I had the right directions on how to get there. I needed more action and less victim mentality. I needed to be more outgoing and less of a little bitch. Now I'm super pumped up. I'm motivated. I got the right things. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to become a landscaper. I'm going to become a great landscaper. So I decided to print out flyers. And I went around and I was popping flyers inside mailboxes. I was putting flyers inside windshield wipers just so people can start to recognize who I am, what I do, what I stand for, and give me a call. Give me a shot, Mrs. Jones. Please let me mow your lawn. Please let me trim your bushes. Please, I won't let you down. And this lady gave me a shot. Another lady gave me a shot. And then I found this dude named Carlos, and he knew how to do pavers. He knew how to do masonry work. And I was like, man, I got to get my life together. I need to get a license. In California, you need a C-27 license. So I stopped working for a little bit and I went to school. I got my license, failed the first time, passed the second time because I was so sick and tired of being sick and tired. The first time I failed the license test is because I didn't study at all. And when I failed, I was so embarrassed. I was so sick of it. I was so fed up with my bullshit. I'm like, you stupid idiot. Moron. You failed the test. The guy told me when I signed up for the class, we have a 99% passing rate. And I was like, 99%? I mean, I'm not that big of a dumbass. But he didn't tell me it's 99% passing rate, but you have unlimited times to retake the test. Of course it's 99%. People can take it 10 times and pass, finally. So the second time, I studied my buns off because I had so much anger, so much drive, so much push. I'm like, dude, I am never going to fail this again. I went in there, did all this stuff, first one to leave, passed both, got an A and an A because I actually studied. And I left and I felt like such a huge accomplishment. Yes! I passed. Let's go. I remember walking out of that government building, which looked like a prison, and walking on the streets. And I was like, yeah! I was screaming. I was so excited because I finally accomplished something because I set my mind to it and I got it done. Next was figuring out general liability, workman's comp, yada, all the legal garbage that you have to do. Got all that done. And then it was time to start advertising again. Busted out some flyers, got a little job. My friends mother gave me a shot. She gave me my first $20,000 job. Life changed. I went from being a nobody to finally a somebody. And I started getting these jobs, you know, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, 50,000. And I was making money. I finally was making money and I was able to show income. And on my bank statements, finally, I could go to a dealership and say, I want that truck. And they were like, give us your bank statements. I gave them the bank statements. Like, oh yeah, you can qualify. Here you go. Here's a loan. And they finally gave me my first truck. I got rid of the banana truck. I sold that for 20 grand. And I have this King Ranch 6.7 liter crew cab 8-foot bed diesel King Ranch 2016. I got that truck brand new off the lot. It was like 80 grand. I walked in, got the deal done, walked out. It was fantastic. Felt so happy. And I bought it all by myself. I didn't have anyone's help. I put the down payment down, $20,000. It was all under my name, and they gave me a loan for that truck, which was great. So I was finally starting to become someone. And then I went to get a ditch witch, a trailer, got a loader, excavator. I started getting accumulating all these things. And at the time, I decided, you know what? In 2017, a year after, I used to watch Keith Kalfas, Dirt Monkey, all these guys on YouTube. And I was like, it'd be cool to make videos. It would give me a lot of credibility for customers to understand and realize that, oh, this kid is not just a doofus. He can actually do my job. That was the main reason why I started YouTube, was just to prove to these customers that I am capable of doing this work. I was a young buck. Like, I didn't have a beard. I was just a skinny little white boy and baby face. I wouldn't trust me with a $100,000 job either. It's like a kid walking up and he looks like he's 20 years old and he's like, yeah, I can do your roof. What? So I decided to start doing YouTube, and every single time I would send a proposal in the email, I would also send videos like, hey, by the way, this is a project that's very similar to yours. Here's the whole time lapse from start to finish of how we did it. And just want to let you know, yes, I'm young, but I've done many of these jobs, and here are reviews from past customers. They have left us. They're very happy. And I know we can do your project, no problem. That's how the whole YouTube journey began. And a different audience picked up my YouTube videos. It was you guys. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to YouTube. I owe YouTube my life, son, because they have made me much more successful, and I finally figured out how I can do something, learn it, figure it out, and then teach you guys, which is a life hack, because then I get to learn it a lot better. Around 2020, when COVID shut everybody down, California was getting out of control, but in our area, it's more, not as liberal. It's not like San Francisco where there's just a bunch of morons everywhere. There are still a lot of hardworking people here that get things done, and the rules were a little more lax. Yes, every time you go to Whole Foods, you have to put on a mask, but I always used to do this, put the mask here, right over my mouth, and I was always a rebel. I remember shutting us down, but I had a job somewhere up in the hills where we're literally in the boonies. Nobody knows we're working, and the guys worked there since March till probably June. We were doing a lot of work, a lot of job, which was great. And one day, sheriff rolls up, and he's like, there's a no work order, and you guys aren't supposed to be working. And I was like, well, officer, we're outside, and we're not really doing anything. We're not even close to each other. And he's like, look, I don't really give a shit, but the neighbors are calling, so I'm just going to be here talking to you for a little bit. After I leave, I'll say, I told you guys to leave, but you don't have to leave. I really don't care. And I was like, all right, this guy's cool, bro. So I talked to him, got to see because remember, 95% of the police force, super conservative, and they like the law, yes, they like the rules, but when it comes to taking away your rights, I mean, sometimes they're very good at taking away your rights too.
Playing music too loud, right to jail, right away. You're driving too fast, jail. Slow, jail. You undercook fish, believe it or not, jail.
Shout out to the police. COVID was a very big pivotal point for me because I saw what the power of authority, the power of the government, the power of shutting things down, and boom, everything's out. So that's when I decided, man, I got to grow this company so it's not just me and guys in the field. So I went there and I found my designer, which is Taylor. I found office girl, her name is Bree. Randy, which is the driver. Jose was already working for me, but we promoted him to project manager. And then I started to open up 3 crews, started being in a lot of places. Now we have an office, we have more assistants, a lot of staff. Payroll has grown to about $50,000 every 2 weeks, which is quite large. When I was starting out, my payroll was like 10 grand every 2 weeks. And I was like, wow, that's a lot of money. But in reality, you have to grow. Either you're growing or you're going. Whatever stage you're in right now, you have to understand you must push the needle. You have to continuously grow. You got to push the limits, get bigger jobs, hire better employees. Most important thing that you have to understand in a business, you cannot be the best one at everything. If you're the worst one at all things in your business, you have a higher chance of being successful. Going back a little bit to 2018, this is when my dad always used to say when I was growing up, he's like, man, my dream car is a Corvette. I love Corvette. And I was like, Dad, when I become successful, I'm going to get you a car. And I was at a point where I had money coming in. I was doing jobs where I was stacking like $5,000, $10,000, $12,000 every month. And I was like, man, this is fantastic. And I remember I had about $150,000 saved up. I went to the dealership and I said, hey, I want to get my dad a Corvette. And my dad's like, no, I don't want a Corvette. I don't want you to buy me. That's crazy. I wanted to buy it. And I was like, well, who gives a dude? Just let me buy the car. And we went there, and I had a friend that worked at the dealership, and he gave us a really good deal. It was a lease, so I was able to write it off, which was a triple bonus, which is fantastic. I had to put $5,000 down, and then I got to lease the car for like $1,500 a month it was an open-end lease. You can lease it till whatever. I leased it. He got the car. He drove it around. He was delivering hats. He was going to the post office, doing like little stuff in his little Corvette. It was actually kind of cool. And in the 3-4 years of owning the car, he only put like 7,000 miles on it. The thing was brand new. And he took care of it. He washed it all the time. He polished the wheels, making sure it was very clean. Even though it was a lease, looking back, it made him so happy, and he was so posting Facebook, sending pictures to his brother. I would have bought the car outright, but at that time I knew it wasn't a very smart financial decision to spend 70% of my money on a car, especially when I can lease it and the money can leave very slowly. That is the best part about living in America. You have the ability and opportunity to get something, do a monthly payment on it, and still have fun with the car even when you're technically not ready to buy the car. And then around 2021, May 4th, my dad started to wake up and he would have like these bruises all over his arm. And my mom was like, oh, like, why do you keep hitting yourself? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know why I keep getting these bruises. And there are bruises all over his arm, his body. And it was kind of crazy. So they went to the hospital and they did blood work. And after that, they got home And the hospital calls him back right away. And I won't forget this. We're sitting at the dinner table, and the hospital calls my dad, and he answers. He's like, hello? And he's like, hey, is this blah, 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 Gary Gertz? And I said, yeah. Well, we looked at your blood work, and we want you to come back for additional testing. And he's like, okay, I'll be there tomorrow. He's like, no, we want you to come today. And he's like, okay. So he hung up the phone, and we're sitting around the dinner table. He didn't say anything. My mom was like, what was that? And he's like, oh, it's a doctor. What do they want? And he's like, nothing. He knew. My dad knew. He knew exactly what it was. And he did not want to go to the hospital because he knew exactly what they were going to tell him. He was fucked. So he went in, and they told him that he had leukemia, which is multiple different blood cancers, which if you know anything about blood cancer, you're pretty much fucked. So within 21 days, it was lights out. And every single day, I think I missed one day because I was like so slammed. But he was in there for 21 days. I visited him 20 days. I remember one day, could not make it, worked really late. But every day I went in there, spent like 2-3 hours with him. We're hanging out, talking. So that truly helped me get a lot of closure because, you go in the first day, he's doing good, you're talking to him, blah, 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 blah. You're going to make it, Dad. It's going to be fine. This is bullshit. You can get the fuck out of here. And then you go in again and he's fine. But today it's a little bit better day. And then next time you see him, he's like in the dumps. He's not doing good. He can barely get up. And then the next day his spirits are up. It's this fucking yo-yo. And, I was like, bro, maybe I'm not going to be able to see them. So I started having conversation with them about everything that I was thankful for, about with him, how he raised me, what he taught me. So I got a lot of closure out of that. And that helped me become a better person. So like when he did pass, I was so heartbroken. I cried for fucking days. But at least I got to talk to him about everything I wanted to talk about, like everything. And I know some of you don't have parents right now and you're in the unfortunate situation like I was, but your dad or mom might have just died without any warning. And that to me would suck more because there's just so many things you want to tell your parents, but you can't because they're not here. It sucks. So I had a lot of closure. I'm very grateful for that, super thankful. And because of the great doctors at Stanford, they kept him alive for the 20 days with obviously a lot of drugs, a lot of fake artificial shit. So it is what it is. But that helped me. So I appreciate that. And my dad helped my work ethic. Well, he taught me how to work. He was a very, very hardworking dude. And I always think about it. If my dad had a business or some kind of thing that he would pour his heart into, he might have been successful. He might not have. I don't know. Not everyone is cut out to be a business owner. It is tough. It is tough work. It's endless grinding, people telling you what to do. We have to do this. We have to do this. We have to do this. You have to do this video. You have to do this video. But it is what it is. I signed up for this. So can't be a little bitch about it. You got to still get it done. But every now and then I like to complain. It makes me feel good. But I still do it. And after all those years of working hard, getting things done, it is now 2024, almost about to go into 2025, which is crazy. I'll be 34 right now. I'll be 35 next May. And life continues to get better and better and better. And that's really all that needs to happen every single time you do something that requires any kind of investment from you. Things just need to improve slowly but surely. And a lot of times you young guys out there, you want to do like a big massive pop. You're like, okay, I want to do this, have a $1 million company, and then I want to go to a $10 million company. That is very reckless. And I've seen people do that and they always fall flat on their face a couple years down the road. And you take 10 steps forward and you take 30 steps back. So I would highly recommend just going slow, keep a steady pace, learn from people that are doing it right now, and make sure that your goals and your path align with how fast you want to grow. So you don't cannibalize yourself and crash into a bridge and burn your car. That became violent. That's my story. I'm Tigran. I'm 34 years old. I live in California. I run a business. I have a lot of great people around me, and I make funny videos. Yes, some of them might trigger you, but that's okay because they're working. Getting attention, getting you riled up, getting you pissed off, whatever it is. As long as you have some kind of emotion towards me, that makes me happy. But if you have no emotion towards me at all, that makes me sad. So keep it up. Peace.